When people see growth, when they see their police, when they see their fire, and they see their parks being taken care of, and they have the opportunity to have activities and events in the city, I think residents are going to be happy.
Welcome to episode 60 of the LoraineCounty.com Insights podcast. I'm your host, Ed Skimman. Before we dive in, I'd like to thank the LoraineCounty.com champion sponsors who make this podcast possible. Lorain County JVS, Community Foundation of Lorain County, WOBL Radio, Lorain County Community College, Lorain County Commissioners, and Emerge Inc. Today we're talking with Elyria Mayor Kevin Brubaker. Join us as Mayor Brubaker talks about the city's unique character and diversity, key initiatives around economic development, safety, and neighborhood revitalization, and the collaborative efforts with schools and the regional leaders to support workforce development. After working the first year out of my house, we grew to 4 team members and moved into our first real office. We chose downtown Elyria and remained there for 12 years for 3 main reasons. Location. Elyria was centrally located to many of our earliest clients in Lorain County and provided great transportation with I-90, I-480, and the Ohio Turnpike to reach our out-of-county clients. Walkability. We loved being able to walk to local restaurants, Eli Square, the Apple Festival, Lorain National Bank to make deposits, and to many client meetings in downtown government offices. And the people. As a young business, we felt very supported by many of the local people and leaders. A number of Elyria businesses provided advice and mentoring along the way. Eventually, our office space needs changed and we did move, but we will always appreciate our time in Elyria and recognize the important contribution the community played in our success. Here is my conversation with Mayor Kevin Brubaker.
Kevin Brubaker, City of Elyria Mayor.
Welcome, Mayor Brubaker. Thanks for joining us and sharing your insights. To begin, how would you describe the character of Elyria, and what do you think makes it a unique place?
The character of Elyria is unique in its diversity. We're a very diverse community, a very hardworking blue-collar community. What we see here is our parks. We're a inner city in a rural type of setting with the trees and with the fields and with our parks. And we have a cross-section of people that are coming into this community, and it's growing.
What are some of the key priorities or initiatives you and your team are currently focused on?
When I came in office, I had a couple priorities. One was economic development in the downtown. The mall, at the time I came in, the mall was still out there. Nobody knew what was going to happen with the mall. And then obviously the project over on Research Point Crossing were the 3 big ones. And then we also, the second phase of that was we wanted to focus on safety, increasing our police, doing some different things with our police, adding firefighters. So I would say as we're doing that whole mix, those were the 2 biggest priorities we have. And we continually work on that. And we're seeing some positive stuff coming out of both of those atmospheres.
Let's talk a little bit more about economic development. I know that's one of your priorities, or as I've heard you call it, economic resurgence.
So in the downtown area, I've always said that previous mayors, which 3 of them I worked for, all wanted to redevelop downtown, see a resurgence. But everybody seemed to get sidetracked with what was going on at Chestnut Commons, or what was going on at the mall, or what was going on in the South Elyria where they're building new houses, and downtown got forgotten. I wanted to make sure that we didn't forget that. So we have created economic stimulus packages for downtown. I created an architectural design program. We'll reimburse somebody up to $10,000. Designing and getting in an old dilapidated building takes money, and you have to have a architect. So we have that program. We have the facade program, and we have the historical grant program in the downtown. I also included that with Cleveland Street between Golf and Abbey, because if you've driven down there, there's some vacant buildings there. And I asked council to include that because that's a main entry point into our downtown area. So they agreed to do that. So as we started to create that, we started to see some new business opportunities coming in. We've had about 7 or 8 businesses in the last 8 months that have opened in the downtown. We have a few more that are coming. I'm doing a ribbon cutting on one that's been open, but they haven't done the ribbon cutting. We have Access Performance, which is Elyria High grads. They're doing a performance strength training and whatnot. And then council voted to pass the CRA and the PACE financing for the eSports Center. The closing on their finances is imminent, which means probably by first week of August, we're going to see some growth and movement on that building finally. They've already put money into the lead abatement, the back wall and the roof, but now they'll be able to do the interior
This
design.
is Kevin Flanagan?
Kevin Flanagan's building, yes. So he's putting an eSports Center in there. There's going to be some room for office space. And then he's also going, which plays into my redevelopment in downtown, is he's going to have 16 units of residential apartments. And we've got a gentleman that's going to do that across the street in one of the buildings as well. So when we look at the downtown, we're slowly seeing it. We're making improvements to the infrastructure, to the park. We're doing concerts in the square on Saturday evenings. The idea behind that was to show developers and investors that downtown was an area that people were willing to come. We had a concert in the square. We had over 150 people sitting around the fountain watching a concert. So that's the downtown. When you talk about the mall, I've worked very closely with our commissioners. As soon as I took office, I was sitting in executive sessions with them. We are at the point now where they actually have a signed purchase agreement with ICP. That's no secret. I expect there to be some great movement on the closing of that by the end of October. I've met multiple times with ICP. I know what their plan is. Now they're actually looking to add some additional things that had not been discussed before. That will be an improvement in the mall. We are seeing about 3 to 4 zoning requests every week from the mall area, which basically means people are asking, what is this property? What is this building zone? What can I do there? That shows that there's interest in that area and they're following what's happening with ICP. And then we also have a developer that's going to buy some acres over there to put in 150 workforce affordable housing apartments, 2 and 3 bedroom, which is what we greatly need. That's across the state of Ohio. So we're starting to see a lot of movement. The gentleman who owns Car Parts Warehouse, he bought about a year ago the complex that housed the old Toys R Us and Planet Fitness. He owns all that. He's renovated that. Now he's got a company marketing that to get businesses in there. So we're seeing that growth there and that change. And then the third one was the Reeser Point Crossing project, where Dan Reeser on the north end of that is going to put commercial, retail, restaurants. And on the south end, his plan is to put 422 townhouse type units on there. Again, those are units of housing that our area greatly needs, particularly when you look at what potentially could happen with the mega site that was just recently announced. So we're working all 3 of these different things. The Bendix building was bought by Premier Development. They've already got a tenant in there. They're looking to expand that. So we're seeing some growth and some jobs, and that is all part of our economic development resurgence.
Let's talk a little bit more about the neighborhoods. Elyria is home to a strong network of neighborhoods. What are you working on to support livability, safety, and connection at the neighborhood level?
So safety, we talked about that a little bit ago. We are now at our max finally of 85 officers. We could go to 90, but from a budget standpoint, we're strong at the 85. It was created a traffic unit that we have 2 officers that are assigned to the traffic unit that are working certain areas of town, much to the chagrin of some people who get pulled over, but other people are happy because they see the speeding slowing down. So we have that. The neighborhood impact unit we brought back in October of 2024. That's working on getting guns and violent criminals off the streets. And I'm happy to say our crime is down, shootings are down. I don't even believe we've had a murder, which is a great sign that our streets are becoming safer. We're very active in the illegal drug activity and getting those folks off the street. Our fire department is at its capacity. We have 2 new fire trucks on order. So we're making sure that we have paramedic EMS response as well as the fire response. That's all going into our neighborhoods that you just asked about. We are growing neighborhood-wise. If you go over on Indian Hollow and see what Kay Hovanian's building over there, Ryan Holmes is building over there, these are $350,000 to $450,000 single-family homes on the far south end of town, which poses a significant growth, but it poses a small problem for fire and police because now you're expanding your territory. So we're seeing that growth. Like I said, we have a couple, 3 developers that are looking to bring workforce housing development. Just recently, we announced up here on the corner of 3rd and West Avenue, a gentleman named Steve McQuillan. He bought that land from the city, and he's planning on putting $1.2 million to $1.5 million. It's going to look like a guy named John Reefy, Mayor Reefy's old mansion that was torn down in 1967. He's going to put 4 units in there and rent them out. He was the mayor actually from 1900 to about 1904. I call him the genius that made the decision to buy the land in Lorain on Lake Erie, and that's the reason why we have a water plant. One of the very few, if any, cities that are inland that have their own water plant. So when we talk about neighborhoods, we're increasing our park activity. We're adding amenities into all of our parks. We have a lot of parks in this city. We're looking to do some major renovations of our pools and making sure that our pools stay upgraded. We have all kinds of programming in our neighborhoods going on. And you hear this all the time, Ed, you want to live, work, and play. That's truly what we want to see here in Elyria.
You mentioned workforce development. Can you talk about the efforts and initiatives in this area? Your work with Elyria City Schools, Lorain County Community College, and other workforce providers to help prepare residents for future opportunities?
So I was fortunate to sit on the Elyria City School Board of Education for 4 years when we built the 5 schools that we have. I have a very good working relationship with the Elyria City Schools. And we're always in conversation about how we can collaborate to help our students be able to achieve work opportunities in the city by way of internships or summer work programs so that they have the ability when they go to college and they come back, or if they choose not to go to college, they have a place to work in the city of Elyria. We also have the Skill City program that we collaborate with Lorain County Community College, and that was started by Mayor Whitfield. And when I came in, we met and he asked me if I would keep that program going because it was a very beneficial. And we looked into it, and it allows people to go and get education from LC3 to prepare them for the workforce. And there has been success in that. So we have continued that program. I thought it was very beneficial to our residents, as did Mayor Whitfield. So we work very closely. I meet and talk constantly with members at the college. How can they help us? Who can we send to them? They're working with the county. So we're working very closely with our partners. We've worked very closely with Elyria Foundry, a business, not the restaurant, to help them grow. That's a dirty place to work, but we've worked with them to advertise their job openings, and they're now maxed to where they need to be on their employees. And we're doing that with several other companies as well.
Related to that, what's your approach to collaborating with other mayors, county leaders, regional partners?
I'm a member of multiple organizations, the Lorain County Mayors and Managers Association, which is all the mayors and managers of Lorain County. We meet quarterly at the college. We come together, and the beauty of that is all the mayors, regardless of party, are coming together, and we're talking about what's going on in our communities. How can we help each other? I've had a couple mayors reach out to me and say, "Hey, Mayor, we've got this business. We can't support them. Is there something you can do?" So we're doing that. We're not stealing from each other. We work very closely together. When you talk about the county, state, and federal level, I tell people all the time, I'm a Democrat mayor. All three of my county commissioners are Republicans. My senators and House of Reps in the state of Ohio are Republicans. My governor's Republican. My lieutenant governor's Republican. My two senators at the federal level are Republican. My congressman's a Republican. The president and the vice president are Republican, right? So I work with all them. I will say this. We've worked very closely over the last 2 years with Congressman Latta, and he has gotten us about $4 million in federal earmarks last year for infrastructure. He's put in for an additional $2 million for 2025, which is all sewer-related stuff. This year, Senator Marino is a new senator. He put in $500,000 for us for police radio dispatch upgrades. I had a luxury of going to D.C. with our lobbyist, and I had sit-down meetings with Senator Marino. I had a sit-down meeting with Senator Husted, and I had a sit-down meeting with Congressman Latta. We're working together for the betterment, not just of Elyria, but Lorain County as a whole. My relationship with the county commissioners could not be any better. We work very closely on projects, not just in Elyria, but countywide. I would say from a political standpoint, regardless of what's going on at the federal level, I'll say we here locally are working very well together.
What do you see as the biggest challenge for Elyria right now, and how are you working to address that?
I would say the biggest challenge in Elyria, as it is most cities, is generating revenue, bringing jobs to our community. The days of General Motors and Ford and just building plants, that's not happening anymore. We lost York International. We lost Moen back in the day. We lost Bendix. We lost General Motors. Those people are not coming back. So we have to kind of reinvent ourselves. Light manufacturing, we can do AI stuff, intelligence, esports, we can do medical. I work very closely with Todd Hartford at EMH, who's the COO. We meet quarterly. We give updates. They have a $5 million campaign fund they're working on right now to do additions and renovations to the hospital over there. So all those different types of things are about jobs. The mall is about bringing jobs, good paying jobs. And that's our challenge right now, is being able to draw that interest. I think we're seeing that, but the challenge is definitely revenue, and all of us are facing that. When you look at the federal cuts and the state cuts, we have to find creative ways. That creative way, quite frankly, is bringing jobs to Elyria.
What about opportunities? What do you see for growth, revitalization, innovation in the city?
We still are growing from a residential housing standpoint. I would also say this workforce housing that we're talking about, to be very clear, when I talk to people about workforce housing, they assume that it's HUD or Section 8, which we have that in Elyria, and it certainly is a great asset to have here because we have residents that need that help. But the next step between them and the $400,000 home is workforce or affordable housing. We just don't have it. Things for a young family or a young married couple can afford on the wages that are being paid, they have the opportunity to get into something that is nice, well-maintained, until they can build up to where they need to get to. And that's what we're focusing on, is that workforce housing. We've got about 3 of them right now that we're working on, totaling about $90 to $100 million of investment in the city. And as long as the state and the feds continue to fund those type of housing credit programs, we're going to see some growth over the next 2 to 3 years on that.
As mayor, how do you define success for Elyria? What outcomes and metrics are most important to your administration?
Success in Elyria to me would be when residents are happy, residents are seeing growth, residents are coming up to you in the street and sharing this little issue here, but they're talking about the big issues that they see happening. When people see growth, when they see their police, when they see their fire, and they see their parks being taken care of, and they have the opportunity to have activities and events in the city, I think residents are going to be happy. So the metrics is, one, is our revenue going up? Two, are we seeing expansion in our city? We've seen several companies expand. Are we seeing some of these trees that have the flowers on them? Are they now starting to get the fruit come through? The esports one, we're going to see that fruit. We get ICP sold. ICP is going to go to work right now and start that. We're going to see that fruit. The DBR project. All three of those, they're not only going to generate people working in Elyria, but it's going to generate construction jobs that are paying taxes to Elyria as all this stuff is going on. So that's a 3 to 5 year construction projects that are going on. We're getting ready to kick off. So we're going to bid out our new public works complex, $21 million. We have a PLA, project labor agreement with our local unions. Anybody can bid on it, but that's going to generate about a 2-year, $21 million worth of project where we have construction workers working on that project. Hopefully they're local workers. That's really what the design is, make sure that our people locally are working.
Plus things like esports and the mall are going to bring people to Elyria.
That is correct. So when you look at downtown and you get this esports, it's going to be about a 60,000 square foot building over there. We're going to have residential in there and other things. That is a mid-level esports center. And then they'll advance to go on to Cedar Point, which has got a massive thing over there. But when ICP is talking minimum 400 to 600 jobs in the mall area, and they're likely going to be light manufacturing, they're going to be logistics, that's huge for the city of Elyria. It's also the goal to get them working here, but I also would like to see them live here to find the value of living in the city of Elyria.
Let's switch over and talk a little bit about you. What's your background and what motivated you to run for mayor of Elyria?
I'm 58 years old and I've lived in the city for 57 and a half years. 6 months, I was born in New York, 6 months lived there. My dad and family moved here and I've been here ever since. Graduate of Elyria High School. I'm a graduate of a school called Appalachian Bible College. I have a degree in youth ministries and family counseling. I worked in the private sector for many years. 2008, I ran for city council and I won. I sat on city council only because I ran for city council without even knowing really what they did because I was aggravated by a levy that failed. And the mayor, Mayor Grace, who I'm good friends with, was talking about laying off police officers. And that did not set well with me. So we had a conversation. I ran for city council. And then I had the honor of working for Mayor Grace. I left a private sector job working for a Fortune 500 company. Mayor Brenda came in. I worked for her. Mayor Whitfield came in. I worked for him. I left for a year. I went to Avon Lake to be the public works director for the opportunity to run for mayor. And I ran in 23, and the residents of the city saw fit to roll.
In the about a year and a half you've been here, what are you most proud of accomplishing?
The collaboration of working with all of our partners and seeing some of the fruit starting to come to bear. I see the morale in the city, not just in the city employees, but I see the morale, the residents increasing greatly. The morale in our police and fire department has increased greatly. And then the collaboration with the school district, and then our general business partners. I kept one of the assistant safety service directors on my staff, Dawn Culver. She does economic development. I asked her, I said, for January, February, March, I want you to schedule us meetings for all of our major and mid-major employers. Lived here my whole life. I know the companies, but I don't know the people because that wasn't my role in previous positions. And I will say between January and April, we visited about 47 of our major and mid-major employers and their CEOs, and I sat down with them. And they were amazed because one of the questions I said to them is not what can you do for Elyria, it's what can Elyria do for you? And that was one of the approaches that I took. And I'm pretty proud of the opportunity of sitting down with them and sharing with them my vision, hearing what they have to say, and then finding out how we can help support them. And your question earlier about, getting workforce, that was one of their biggest concerns is having the capacity, if they were to grow, that there would be people to work there.
Going forward, what are your goals? What would you still like to accomplish?
I'm still wanting to see the mall project done and moving forward. The Days Inn, you're probably familiar with the Days Inn. I know that's hopefully going to be rectified here soon. I want to see the DBR project kick off because that's a $350 million multi-use development. We've never had anything like that in the city of Elyria. I mean, they continue to see our programming and events in the city of Elyria. So again, having the residents being able to have a place to go and do activities and to be able to stay right here in Elyria and to draw people into that.
How would you describe your leadership style? What are the guiding principles that shape how you lead and who has influenced your leadership style?
I'm a servant leader. I'm not a demanding individual. Usually when I have conversations with department heads and I have ideas, I don't tell them this is what I want done. Take a look at it. Tell me what you think. Let's have a conversation. I know I have the authority to say I want it done, but that's not how I operate, because the people that are running our city departments are the experts in that. A lot of them in there 20 plus years. I don't run their departments. I have a very good, smart staff here. When you talk about servant leadership, I've asked them to take that role on as well. When I hired these folks, I did not want them to be afraid to tell me no. We're sitting in a room and I come up with an idea and they think it's the stupidest thing in the world. I want them to be able to tell me why they think that. But if I go out and I say, this is what I want to do, I need their support. And I've been fortunate to have that staff be able to do that. But I want to be able to listen to our residents. I am very open to residents. I think that's part of the reason why I'm here. And my access on Facebook over the last 15 years, somebody needed something, they tagged me and it was taken care of. I still have that accessibility. I get Facebook messages all the time about complaints. I get text messages, phone calls. I am open to all that. I'm very transparent. These staff knows that if a resident comes in and they want to see the mayor, if I'm not busy, they get to see the mayor. We just kicked off Coffee with the Mayor. We're going to feel that out and see how well that goes, because I want to be available to the residents. I'm at events all the time. So that's how my leadership is. I want to lead by example.
Outside of work, what are your hobbies and interests, and how do they help recharge you?
I coached baseball at multiple levels for 25 years. And when my son graduated from Elyria High in 19, I got out of that and I had to pick something up. So during COVID, when everything was shut down and my fitness center where I go to was closed, took up running. I have no idea why. I had turtles passing me when I run. So every night after work, I would start to run and I do 3 miles. And it took me about 38 days before I could run 3 miles without stopping. I started doing a bunch of 5Ks and a running coach got a hold of me. And in 2023, while I was campaigning the whole year, I was training to run a full marathon at 56 years old. So in September of 23, I ran the Akron Marathon. I think it took me 6 days to get done, but I will never do, I like the half marathon. I've done about 10 half marathons, but I like trail running, getting in the mud and stuff like that. And of course, I'm married at 32 years, a 24-year-old son. I like to garden. My wife and I like to go out to eat.
Finally, where can people get more information on Elyria and connect with you?
So we have a very active Facebook page. So they go to City Elyria Facebook page. We've added about 8,000 followers since 2024. They can connect with me there, usually weekly. Sometimes it's bi-weekly. I put out from the mayor's office. I give them updates of what's going on in the city. We delete nothing. So even if somebody puts something on there that is not very popular, it stays on there. I don't want anybody to think that we're blacking stuff out or blocking stuff. We don't block anybody or anything like that. My personal Facebook, our website, cityelyria.org. You can contact my office at 440-326-1402 and get in contact with me. Or they can email me directly at kbrubaker@cityofelyria.org.
Well, thank you, Mayor Brubaker, for joining us and sharing your insights.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
Thank you for listening to the LoraineCounty.com Insights Podcast. Each episode, we share conversations with the people shaping life in Lorain County, from business and government to education, nonprofits, healthcare, and entertainment. Be sure to follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. You can also visit LoraineCounty.com to discover local events, volunteer opportunities, and more community resources. If you know someone who's making a difference in Lorain County, send us a note at podcast@LoraineCounty.com. We would love to share their story and insights. Special thanks to our producer, Leah Gerke, and to you for listening. This has been the LoraineCounty.com Insights Podcast, conversations with the people shaping Lorain County.